As promised, your Uncle Graham's now going to take you on the back roads of Chiang Rai, which leads right alongside the Mekong River. It is, as usual with most places around here, just stunning. Of course, you do have to be careful in parts. Some of the roads here are not that great. You get a lot of debris on the road from the farm vehicles, and the surface of the road is not exactly ideal. So you just have to take it a little bit easy, but it is a perfect place to ride a motorbike. It's just beautiful out here. Expat life. Well, what's it really like living in Thailand as a foreign national? It's a question I get asked an awful lot, and one that is complex to answer. One of the things you have to be is pragmatic. Now, I say pragmatic because really it doesn't really matter where you live in the world. If you're going to decide to move to a different country, there will always be problems. The key to overcoming these problems is to take a pragmatic approach and realise what you can and you cannot do. It's simply no good just complaining about it, especially in certain areas where you cannot make a change, such as government policy. Politics will always affect you regardless to where you go. For instance, here there are issues for foreigners regarding land ownership, property ownership and immigration. They're the only two real things that affect any foreigners here, and providing you can meet their requirements, then you shouldn't have a problem. Property ownership is a grey area for a number of reasons. It is against the law in Thailand for any foreigner to own land. So if you decide that you want to buy a house, you can own the building, but you cannot own the land. There are ways to circumnavigate the laws, but none of these are actually legal. Although these are widely used, such as putting the land title into your wife's name, or setting up a Thai company to hold the land. All these aspects are fraught with danger, and especially when you're looking at serious sums of money being laid out for the property, which you could end up losing. So taking just that issue alone, the remedy to it is to rent. It's as simple as that. Don't bother buying anything, just rent it. And as soon as you've had enough, you can always pack your bags and move house, or move to another country, depends what you want to do. Immigration. There are several different types of visas you can get. I'm personally on a retirement visa, and it's relatively easy. I can show up 800,000 baht in the bank, and with that I can get a 1-year visa. Every year I have to renew. Now, going back to issues. During the year, you have to report to immigration every 90 days. It can be a little bit tiresome, but that's the way Thai law is set up, and that's what you have to do if you want to live here. But again, no matter what type of visa you have here, you will only get 1 year at a time, and you will have to report to immigration every 90 days. Well, looking at these views, it's not really difficult to understand why I like living here so much. I mean, how many people get to see this type of scenery on a daily basis? It's another reason why I love vlogging. It just allows me to show everybody what I see, and there's many people that will never see this type of scenery. If you decide to go shopping in the local markets, then it's relatively inexpensive. Everyday produce such as meat, fish, eggs and vegetables are very, very cheap. So you can live very well for very little money. But again, it depends on your lifestyle and what you want. Thailand is obviously notorious for its bars and nightlife. And again, if you're one of those people where you want to experience that and experience it most nights, then you're going to have to expect to pay for it. It becomes very, very expensive. As for myself, I'm married and I don't bother going out drinking. I have a bottle of scotch at home where I'll have 1 or 2 a week, and I'm quite happy with that. I'm not a really big drinker. One of my favourite tipples is bourbon, Jack Daniels to be precise, or better still Wild Turkey 101. But again, these are relatively expensive, so it's not the sort of thing I'd buy on a regular basis. I'm lucky to say that I don't have to pay rent. We currently live with Pai's parents since we moved from Phuket, and Phuket is massively expensive. It doesn't matter what you want to do or where you go, it's just expensive, but it's become very, very westernised. In Chiang Rai, life is a lot simpler and it moves at a very, very slow pace. Again, as I've said in other videos, most of it's just farming communities. I really like it. I like the pace of life and I love the area. Do I like living where I am? It's a good question, and one I'm asked an awful lot, and I have to be honest and say no. I like the area, but I don't like the house I'm living in. I get on fine with my in-laws. I'm just one of these people where I really don't like living with a lot of people. So we've now started to look for a place of our own, but of course that means money. Another question I get asked an awful lot of times is, how much money do I earn? Currently I have a website that deals with home and gardening. It's just a small blog. The blog itself earns between £100 and £250 a month. Really depends. I've got no real control over how the money is earned on there. It basically comes down to clients who are willing to pay for article submissions on the site, and it is sporadic. I really never know from 1 month to the next exactly what I'm going to earn, and that in itself can be a problem. But again, it's just another problem you have to overcome. So we live very, very cheaply. Many of my friends know that I yearn for a new motorbike. I love my motorbike, but I would like something a little bigger and more powerful, especially to deal with these roads and the mountain roads. It would make things so much easier and more enjoyable. It's a little bit cruel because tourist season here has just started, and there's an awful lot of motorcycles roaming around touring, and a lot of those are very big bikes. So I look at them with envious eyes. It must be nice to be on a bigger bike around here. It's just a great place to ride a motorbike. Have I been anywhere else in Southeast Asia? Yes. I've been to Singapore on several occasions. I've been to Malaysia on several occasions, in particular Langkawi, the island of Langkawi. It's nice, it's really, really nice. I certainly like Langkawi. Singapore is just an incredible place. I'm not a fan of big cities, I never have been. I was born and bred in London, and quite frankly I hated it. I'm not saying London's a bad city, it's a great city, but I'm not a great fan of built-up areas, and I'm not a great fan of lots of people around me at any one time. Singapore, on the other hand, is just one big city, but they've managed to retain a very tropical feel to it. There's still lots and lots of greenery, and it is spectacularly beautiful. Clean. You've never seen anything like it. You could almost eat your dinner off the sidewalk. That's how clean it is. If you've never been to Southeast Asia, I would say Singapore should be your first stop to see what these people have achieved, because it is quite remarkable. Do I love going to the farm? Absolutely. I just love it. But again, it's one of those places where it's sanctuary. It's a place I can go with complete and utter peace and quiet, sit there by the pond bank and fish, nobody bothering me, and I'm as happy as a Saen. Do you speak Thai? I've been living here for just over 13 years and my Thai is rudimentary. It's basic, I can get by, but apart from that, no, not really. I'm certainly not fluent. If I were to put it in a percentage, maybe 20-25%. In all honesty, there wasn't much of an incentive for me to learn Thai, and the reason being is because I was based in Phuket and it's such a high profile tourist destination that most of the Thais there speak English. How cold does it get? Well, again, it depends on where you live in Thailand. If Phuket, for instance, it doesn't really ever get cold. You have two seasons, hot and dry, hot and wet. It's as simple as that. In the wet season, yes, temperatures can drop down to approximately 23-24 degrees Celsius, but it's hardly cold. You could still walk around in shorts and a t-shirt all day, and in fact I did. Here you have three seasons. You have the hot and dry season where temperatures get up to about 36, sometimes higher than that Celsius. In the wet season it drops a little bit, but not by a huge amount, and then it gets cold. And in the cold season it can get between 3 and 8 degrees Celsius here. It's very, very cold. Where do I live in Chiang Rai? I live in a small area called Chiang Rai. The village is called Ban Saeo. The house we live in is approximately 500 metres from the Mekong River. So if I go down to the riverbank in the evening, I can look across the river and see Laos. What sort of advice would I give to people looking to retire in another country? Do your research. That's the key issue. You need to sit down, get on the internet and do as much research as you possibly can. You need to know the nature of the beast. You need to understand it before you walk into it. It's no good getting off a plane and then realising a few months later that you've made a horrible mistake and there's nothing you can do about it. You need to do something about it before you go. And there's plenty of information on the internet regarding any country you may wish to look at. So please do your research. Well, that just about wraps it up for today, folks. I'm nearly home and I'm going to go and get a bite to eat. If you do have any other questions that I've not covered here, by all means leave your questions below in the comments form and I'll do my best to answer any questions you may have. Have a great day and stay safe. Bye for now.